It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia, all together and ready to roll into the regular season of college football. You know, we got games coming up tomorrow night, including a team in our state who'll be kicking things off tomorrow night. Going to talk all about that with you tonight here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes. Here from our studios in downtown Columbia, our phone number is 800-956-7266. So give us a call. Love to hear from you here a couple of days away from the start of the college football season here in the state of South Carolina. A lot of good things coming your way tonight. Dan Radakovich, the Clemson athletic director, will join us here at the bottom of the hour, and we'll talk about what to look for at Clemson as you return to campus for this football season. What changes have been made? We know about balloons going away and fireworks arriving. We'll find out what else they have planned. The M&M boys will be with us, top of the second hour. Good to have Will Merritt and Corey Miller back with us for another season. And Dabo Sweeney's talking with the media today after the Tigers have their practice this afternoon. We'll get more on him about the game coming up against Furman, plus more from Will Muschamp on the Gamecocks depth chart heading into their opener against Coastal Carolina. And at the bottom of hour number 2, Mike Foster from the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is going to join us to reveal exclusively on Sports Talk not all of, but some of the nominations for the Hall of Fame for the 2018 class. It's a long list, and we'll mention some of those names once he joins us. But that'll be at the bottom of hour number 2 here on Sports Talk. So it's we are totally full of it tonight. 800-956-7266. Our email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. So I guess the thing that's got Gamecock people buzzing, and I just chuckle when it comes to things related to uniforms because I find it senseless.
You are not a member of the fashion police, is what you're telling me.
No. I mean, listen, I understand fans get excited when something happens with the uniforms, and now schools are taking time out to tweet out their uniform combinations and anything that's new with their uniforms. And to me, it's all about who's inside those uniforms, as we all know. So South Carolina is going to break out a new look on its helmet for Saturday's game with the script Carolina written on it, which is fine. It's their prerogative to do what they want to do. Are they doing it trying to sell something new, or are they trying to just create a new look? I mean, personally, it kind of depends on where you think you are in the landscape of college athletics and college football. If you have a brand, you don't touch that brand, no matter what the case may be. Some schools can do that. We know that. We know which schools can get away with never touching their true brand. They might change up a uniform top here or there, but by and large, they stick with their brand. South Carolina has had the logo of the Block C and the Gamecock for a long, long time. Different versions, different sizes. My personal favorite goes back to the Jim Carlin era when it was really big on the side of the helmet. I mean, you could see it from the top of the stadium without using any kind of glasses to help you see it. They gotten a little smaller here more recently. But, Will, they're going to go with a Carolina script on the side of the helmet Saturday.
I took some heat from people for saying that I absolutely love it. I think it's great. It's part of a larger brand initiative from the folks in South Carolina. This is something that we've heard from Ray Tanner, and they've released this kind of over the last couple of weeks. They really want to capture that, quote, Carolina brand, and they really want to market that Carolina script logo as part of their brand initiative there, and they're trying to sell stuff, like you said, with that Carolina script on it. I think it's great. I think anything to kind of, pizzazz up. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the Block C logo. I know that's probably heretical to say, but I think it looks smooth on the helmet. I think it's great that it's only on one of the 3 helmets so that you keep the distinctive logo on the black and the white helmet. And I think it's something that Will Muschamp has embraced. We've seen him wear that script Carolina visor throughout fall camp and pro. I think, this kind of harkens back to a bygone era. I mean, we talked about, Mr. Morrison, who used to wear that hat, and obviously it's something that a certain era of Carolina fans would appreciate.
Part of me says that this is just another idea for the guys at Under Armour to sell merchandise, because notice that their logo is right above that Carolina script, so they're trying to. My point was this, and I said I'm ambivalent about it because, as I said before, even if some people don't like it, if it's unique, you stay with it. Nobody else has that Block C with the Gamecock in the middle of it. That's unique. Well, it's a little bit noisy, Tom. So what? But the bottom line is, if you win in it, people will like it. I remember when Denver fans just yelled to high heaven, we can't stand those new uniforms. And then finally, John Elway wins a Super Bowl in them, and everybody was wearing them the next year.
It's weird. The Rockets changed their uniform the year after they won the championship. They haven't been back to the NBA Finals since.
There you go.
The problem I see is, of course, outside of the borders of South Carolina, you're not going to recognize South Carolina as Carolina. Right. I mean, that belongs to North Carolina, and that's how the media recognizes North Carolina largely by Carolina. They do not largely recognize South Carolina by Carolina. It's South Carolina. Now, some SEC broadcasters, when they're doing a USC game, will refer to them as Carolina, which they should. I think if that's what you're trying to do, I think you're fighting a losing battle there. Personally, I like what they had before. I like the Block C. I think Gamecocks is something that's unique when you think about it. Who else has Gamecocks? Jacksonville State, Sumter High School, Scriven County High School in Georgia. Those are the only Gamecocks I can think of. So you've got something unique. The helmet they had last year that had the feathers on it, I thought was kind of interesting and unique to what they're doing.
Well, that was 2 or 3 years ago.
That was last year, wasn't it?
I thought it was before Muschamp. I thought.
Point is, I think anything that can get you to stand out amongst the fray, something that's new, something that's flashy. It's all about trying to stand out.
I don't
recruiting.
think it's flashy. I
like
want to see what it looks like from the stands. I mean, to me, how are you gonna? It's going to be a word written on the side of the.
You can't see that
helmets.
much easier than the Block C from the stands.
I don't know. I think the Block C stood out to me.
Well, the key point is, if they would have gone to anything, and I showed Will that people are wearing the caps with just the Gamecock talons on it with the silver spur on it.
Mm-hmm.
They should have put that on the side of the helmet. See how that would have worked out.
Whatever they're going to do, those helmets will be burned. I can promise you that.
They will be blown up.
That's why you do that for a game against Coastal Carolina and not, say, week 2 against Georgia.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. I think everybody's excited for the start of the season, tired of talking about it and ready to see what these teams have to deliver on the field. And South Carolina going in as a 29.5-point favorite over Coastal Carolina. On our website, sportstalksc.com, of course, we have the poll question of the week, and that is, will South Carolina cover the 29.5? Clemson is favored by 42.5 over Furman. As I sit here and think about it, looking at the matchups right now, I think I would take Furman and the 42.5.
I wouldn't.
I think Clemson will not beat them by 42.5.
I don't think so. I really think that while you give Furman a lot of credit for being kind of a giant beater and a world beater and a team that keeps teams close, I still think the physicality of the lines of scrimmage, what Clemson brings on the defensive line against Furman's offensive line, and vice versa with Clemson's O-line against Furman's defensive line, I think they're going to dominate that matchup in the trenches, and I don't think it'll be close.
This is not going to be like a South Carolina State was against Clemson, where they just got embarrassed, or like you mentioned last year, Kent State couldn't get out of the backfield hardly against that Clemson defense. I mean, I give Furman a little bit more credit for being able to block and do what they do with their misdirection offense, which can cause you some problems with over pursuit and things of that nature. I'm still going to take Furman in the 42.5. I'll take South Carolina to cover the 29.5 against Coastal.
I disagree with you on that.
I
like the shot.
I feel even more confident than ever. Back in a moment.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Getting a couple of tweets here on Sports Talk at SportsTalkSC, where you can also watch us on Periscope every night. We're getting a lot of great video response. If you lose us over the air, you can get us on Twitter and on Periscope at SportsTalkSC, and also on our YouTube channel, which you can find at SportsTalkSC.com. On Twitter, Lawrence tweets us, Kornblut, stop being a drama queen. It's one helmet. It's about marketing and fun. The hats look really sharp. Bill was wondering, he said, who said that they would be worn? And I said, I don't think they would necessarily make Justin King, the South Carolina video guru, make up that big video for helmets that were not going to even be worn. We do have an update for you also. We are starting again our in-season tour. We've concluded the preseason tour, and we're now moving to the in-season tour of our Palmetto Pride pigskin previews all across the state. We'll be live a week from tonight in Aiken at the brand new Tailgate Tavern in the alley in the heart of downtown Aiken from 6 until 8. That's a week from tonight, Wednesday, September 5th. We're talking about the Big Border Bash, USC and Georgia. Be part of any one of their 28 televisions. Also, the food getting major props from diners. So bring your appetite, talk some football. Our affiliate down there in Johnston, KSX 92.7. We're broadcasting before us from 4 until 6, and then we'll have our show from 6 until 8.
All right, 800-956-7266. The fact that Lawrence fired around at me, it does not bother me because he complains about everything that we say. I mean, everything. And, okay, well, you take a look at it from the stands on Saturday afternoon and tell me what you think, and I'll do the same, and we'll have our opinion as to whether or not it looks good or it doesn't look good. That's all. I have my opinions about what should be on the side of a helmet, and I don't personally like script. I don't like the Florida helmet with the word Florida scripted on there. I don't think I'm going to be crazy about this. UCLA. Not that it matters. UCLA is a little that's not in a script form. That's more in a kind of a block form. Do they put UCLA on the side of their helmet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like initials. I like logos, I think what South Carolina had really stood out. I think what Clemson has really stands out. It's their brand.
It was a big tizzy at my alma mater when they took the block M off that helmet and went to the Tiger circle logo. That was a big point of contention.
I like the way the Browns look.
Yeah. Let's go to the phones. 800-956-7266. Robert in Myrtle Beach, welcome into Sports Talk on this Wednesday night. Good to have you with us.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys?
So far, so good.
Hope you're doing well. Good, man. Well, listen, I got to be honest with you. I mean, I'm dating myself like all lawn furniture, but I like the idea of Carolina on the side. I'm going to tell you why I do. Not because of Coach Morrison. I'm an alumni, 64 years old. But, I mean, I'm about tired of hearing about Carolina being branded as North Carolina. I'm tired of it. I mean, there is two Carolinas. Okay.
Yeah, but do you know how many years South Carolina would have to win national championships to get the media? There's nothing you can do about it. It's about those guys who sit in the booth. It's about those guys who sit, unfortunately, in Bristol, Connecticut, and control the narrative of who gets identified by what.
I mean, we should start printing fake degrees down here.
I get that.
I mean, unless South Carolina – look, South Carolina could do this. What other schools have done, what Charlotte's done, what UCF has done, that is they can put out a mandate that says this is how you refer to us and this is the only acceptable way. East Carolina is the same way. In their game notes, they would tell you how to refer to them, not as Eastern Carolina, not as
Carolina,
whatever it is. So if South Carolina wanted to be known as Carolina, they could inform the ESPN announcers and the people that come in and do their games that put the word out nationally, refer to us only as Carolina and see how that goes across.
Yeah. No. I'm not disagreeing with you on that point. I'm just saying, though, that, for years, I mean, well, there's a local sports talk guy down here in Myrtle Beach, and I think y'all know who I'm talking about, that, calls Carolina the cheaters up in North Carolina and all this stuff. But the bottom line is I don't care about all that. What I do care about is that when Coach Morrison did that, and I'm dating myself, I know that, but, there's just something about, what I think. I don't know. You all know more than I do about this, gentlemen. You're in the media. But, if Muschamp's trying to do this, if this is kind of a branding thing or I understand all that. But, I do believe, I always thought I would just like to see the Gamecock on the side of the helmet. Just the Gamecock.
They did that under Paul Dietzel. Paul Dietzel's helmets had the Gamecock on the side.
I love that.
I like that. I
love that.
Let me ask you this question. Since we're talking about this
Sure.
Carolina script thing being so great, what's going to be in the middle of the field on Saturday?
The block.
Hell
sheet.
if I know.
The block sheet.
Oh, no, they haven't painted it yet, so who knows? They haven't painted
Yeah,
it.
that paint might affect that new grass.
I was saying, no, they're just lucky. They're just lucky to have the grass laid on the field.
My guess is
Yeah, well, look, we got that down. Yeah, but I agree.
Robert.
You guys are
Robert. What have you been doing today? What have you been doing today?
I have been working. I'm on the way home listening to you guys like I always do.
Okay.
And you're my favorites to listen to put myself in a good mood. But
You sound like
I just think. Go ahead.
No. I thought maybe you had hit the hit the boardwalk there a little early this afternoon.
Oh hell no, not at all.
Okay,
I just enjoy the banner. And I just think it's fun to talk about things like this because nowadays the generation gaps are so different. People look at things differently. Obviously at 60 odd years old, I don't look at things like 30 and 40-year-olds do.
That's why
or 20-year-olds. It's all different.
That's where I disagree with you, Robert, because listen, I'll give you some advice, okay? Become age neutral like I am. I don't have an age. Why can't I look at things the way people who were born a few years after me look at things? That's how I look at it.
Because you always have to hand me your phone and do something new technologically on your phone. That's why
I had no trouble with my new phone. Thank you very much. Age neutral, baby. There's no such thing as an age anymore. Except the only time I will acknowledge an age is when I have to get Social Security.
Tyler has this on Twitter, and I'm going to show this to you here. He says, if it's all about how it looks from the stands, and this Missouri helmet has to be the worst of all time. I hated when they went away from the Block M. This is because they went to this chrome matte dummy look, and I just hated that look.
All right, to Hank in Columbia, and thanks for your call, Robert. Good hearing from you. Hank, what's going on?
Hey, nothing much, Corn. I was calling. I've been listening to everybody go back and forth with whether they like the script or don't like the script. And, it's very actually, the whole thing is similar to Florida because if you go back to it, Corn, Florida uses the helmet that has the gator on it, and they use the helmet, that white helmet that has just that F on it. Florida,
Yes.
And then they've also used the helmet that has the little Florida strip on it.
Yeah.
And so, and they're one of the programs that everybody says one of these elite programs are in the country. And so this is no different than that because what I heard earlier today is that the Block C would still be on the black mounted helmet and the white helmet. So it just gives you different options. So I just think, for all this hullabaloo is much to do about nothing. If the recruits like it and it looks cool, that's what it needs. It doesn't need to please anybody but them because, Oregon made their name and got recruits out there because of uniforms. Everybody doesn't have to do it. Alabama doesn't have to do it, but other teams don't have that luxury. Alabama.
And Muschamp said this on the SEC teleconference today. He said he went to the seniors and said, hey, there's been this new push about the Carolina brand. We want to put this on one of our helmets. And they talked about it. They voted, and they said, let's put it on the garment helmet. We'll wear it week one, and the seniors are the ones who choose all the uniforms. Again, it's an option, like Hank said.
Well, it should have been a caveat to that. If they're going to have the script on the side of the helmet, then he's going to have to light up a Marlboro.
I wouldn't think Muschamp would want anything to do with what happened when he was at Florida. Nothing to, remind him of how things ended there. But yeah, I mean, the team can do what it wants to, but not everybody's going to like it. Folks who've been around a little while and seen different things and have been attached to a certain style might not like it. Then again, there could be people who do like it. You're going to have to wait and see how it plays out there. Again, I'm not one to get all excited about uniform. I could care less what uniform combination they wear, what's on the side of the helmet. That's just not something that really interests me in terms of the week-to-week preparation for a game. I know for the kids and for the recruits and for the players and all that, you break out something new, it can get them pumped up. And Danny Ford broke out the orange britches at Clemson out of the blue. You know that story?
I do not know.
I'll have to tell you that story during the break, but it worked for them. Maybe this will work for the Gamecocks.
We'll ask Dan Rad about his orange britches, the athletic director at Clemson.
It's a little personal.
I'm going to say this only as an editorial comment, just because we've been talking all about these helmets. I probably guarantee you our next guest is probably not in favor of any helmet changes to the helmet that takes place at Clemson.
Only if he wants to get shot. I mean, I think if you touch the paw, you're risking your own life and limbs. As we welcome Dan Radakovich. I say that with a smile on my face.
Literally one of the funniest things I've heard you say.
Yeah. I hope he's laughing. Dan?
Hey, Phil, I love our – it's perfect.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You don't touch the paw right now.
No, not at all. It's one of the iconic helmets in college football. But hope you guys are doing well.
We are. We are. Thank you for joining us. We had Ray Tanner on earlier in the week, so we wanted to get you on to talk about opening week up at Clemson. And I guess, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of new things. I saw the new stoplight on Perimeter Road across from the fire station there. That's hopefully not going to slow people down as we're coming down Perimeter Road, and the new paving of the road there. Very nice. But I guess the elimination of the balloons and the arrival of fireworks for home games. How do you feel about that change?
Well, you know, there's been for a couple of years a study, a campus study on the balloon release, and you know, being a land grant university, I think it was important for us to help maintain the environment. So at the end of the day, that was the conclusion that was reached by the group, and certainly as a part of the institution, we're gonna embrace that and try to do some different things. The first game being at 12:20, I don't know how fireworks are going to look. So we're probably not going to do those for the first game, but as we continue down the for behind during the entrance, certainly we'll have the fireworks during, you know, after each score by the Tigers. But as we get a little further on into the season, we may have some surprises as the team comes down the hill.
Anything else that fans should know about, changes around the stadium, anything that will affect their enjoyment of the game, their information access, anything of that nature?
Well, I think it's from a safety perspective, one of the things that we're doing this year is a pilot program using metal detectors at various gates, and they'll rotate around the stadium during the course of the year, just to add another level of safety. Our new police chief, Greg Mullins, who had been the former chief of police in Charleston, was a real advocate of that, as were we, to make sure that our fans have a very safe arrival. So we've talked and put out a lot of information into the media as to what can be brought in. You know, you're going to have to empty your cell phone and your keys and things like that on your way in. But the clear bag that has been a part of our policy for a while is a nice spot to put those all in so that you can get into the stadium quickly. I know that those types of things, those types of metal detectors are going to become more standard operating procedures in stadiums all throughout the country in the next year or two. So we're going to pilot that this year, and if all goes well, we'll implement that stadium-wide in 2019.
And that was going to be my next question, Dan, just because of the fact that I know that while it might provide a bit of a nuisance for fans, I mean, fans obviously wanting to get into the stadium as possible, that is certainly of the utmost importance, and I'm sure your goal, like you said, is to be something that that comes stadium-wide here for all your entrances if this program does go as expected.
Absolutely. And I think I believe I have this correct, but it is going to be mandated, for example, in all Southeastern Conference stadiums by I believe 2020. So, I mean, there's this push throughout the stadia, and if you go to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta or the Panther Stadium in Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium, that's all standard procedure there and has been for a while. So we're just trying to move along and give our fans a safe experience, but also one that allows them to get into the stadium quickly and enjoy the Tigers. Dan
Radakovich, Clemson AD, with us here on Sports Talk. So I think it was maybe late summer. We saw some information about student pickup tickets and the Hill and trying to resolve that situation there so that you get the Hill filled again with students. So how do you think it'll look on Saturday?
Well, we had an agreement with our student government. We were going to sell 3,600 tickets. We had 4,600 requests for those 3,600 tickets. So those were all gone. And then if you weren't one of the students that bought those tickets, you were able to go into a lottery for tickets, and the lottery went incredibly well. But on game day Saturday, we will have 1,500 tickets specifically for the Hill that will be available for students that either didn't purchase a ticket or were not successful for that particular Saturday's game that will be available for pickup. And we hope that makes sure that if you're going to get up and go over and get that ticket, that you'll make your way onto the Hill and hopefully we have that great environment there, not only this Saturday but throughout the year. So all in all, the student ticket changes have been very positive.
You know, it seems that now people want just a tremendous experience when they go to a football game, including using their cell phones, Wi-Fi adaptability. Is there any technological things you're doing around the stadium for people to use their gadgets while they're there?
Well, we've had some changes over the last few years that have enhanced the Wi-Fi capability and the cellular capability around the stadium. So we continue to monitor that and listen to our fans. But we made some changes a couple of years ago that really greatly increased that opportunity around the stadium. So we want to just make sure that that's up to standard and folks are able to use their mobile devices in the stadium. It is a difficult circumstance anytime you have 80,000 people in one location trying to utilize that. But our partners bring in mobile units to help the cell phone providers. The cell phone providers bring in mobile units to help our customers, and we've seen some real good success in that in the last couple of years. We've also this year done some value pricing on our concession menu, so I think our fans will really enjoy that. We will have, throughout the year, $2 hot dogs, $2 bottled water, $3 bottled Coke products, and a few other items that will have a little value to them. So hopefully that is something that our fans will enjoy.
Will you guys look, whether it's a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, at some point maybe retooling some of the capacity to maybe more luxury areas and things of that nature that allow for kind of more of the communal atmosphere and things like, the TVs and enclosed seating, things like that, that at least some more stadiums across the country are moving towards?
Well, we're always looking at opportunities to, increase those premium areas. We have some studies going on right now, but they're so preliminary at this point in time that we really don't have any resolution on them. So it's always something that we're looking to do and create everybody wants a different type of setup, whether it's just going to the game or using it for business purposes or entertaining purposes. So we want to be able to provide those. We're very blessed at this point in time that all of the premium areas that we have right now are sold out. And I think that as the demand continues to be there for those types of products, we'll look to see if we can create those for our fans.
All right, got about a minute left with you. Any further conversations with Georgia towards getting that series on the docket?
Well, we finished up one with LSU, and we're continuing the conversations with Georgia. Hopefully we have some resolution here in the coming weeks. We have had a number of discussions with other Power 5 conference schools as well to look to fill up those dates that we have available at the end of the 2020 decade.
Are you at liberty to disclose which ones?
Not at this point in time, Phil. I think the cake's still in the oven.
Yeah. Well, don't burn it, whatever you do. Don't burn the cake. Hey, we look forward to seeing you this season up at Clemson. Should be another exciting year for the Tigers, and we thank you for joining us.
I really appreciate it. See you this Saturday.
You got it. Dan Radakovich of Clemson.
I had to ask. I just had to ask.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to tell you.
And
but
he
that's
had to not answer.
But it is interesting that he did say the Georgia thing could be done here within, what did he say, matter of a couple of weeks? Yeah, so look for that popping out here pretty soon.
Recruiting coming up, and also some more discussion about Clemson and South Carolina's games this week.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney speaking presently. We'll bring you any news and notes that come about as a result of that. We'll hear from Will Muschamp a little bit more from yesterday's press conference and about some of the depth chart changes to South Carolina's depth. A little new wrinkle in the fall baseball schedule, Corn.
Yes, they announced today, of course, the NCAA is going to allow baseball teams now to play a couple of exhibition games in the fall free of charge. And so it was announced today the USC Carolina Gamecocks will host NC State on September 29th at 2 o'clock. That's a Saturday. Then play at Georgia Tech October 6th at 1 o'clock. So you make plans to get an early look at those baseball teams. By the way,
the 29th is on a road football weekend, too. So folks who might not make the trip to Kentucky could see the Gamecock baseball team.
You Clemson fans making plans for going to Clemson, Georgia Tech, did you know the same weekend the Braves are home against the Phils?
Oof.
And the Falcons are home that weekend against the Saints. So
wow.
If you want to make it a real man's weekend, leave the women and children at home. Go to a Braves game on Friday. Go to the Clemson game on Saturday. Go to the Braves game on Saturday night if Clemson plays early, and then go to the Falcons game on Sunday if you can get tickets. That's a weekend and a half. Also want to mention the media around the state, high school rankings for this week. In 5A, it's Dutch Fork getting all 16 first-place votes, with Durham at second, Gaffney third, Fort Dorchester fourth, and T.L. Hanna fifth. In 4A, Hartsville got all the votes, South Point second, Belton Honeypath third, Myrtle Beach fourth, and Greer fifth. Shows you the respect for South Point, remaining second or not dropping any farther than second after losing last week. In 3A, Dillon is number one, followed by Gilbert, Chester, Chapman, Strom-Thurmond. In 2A, it's Abbeville getting all the votes, followed by Barnwell, Carvers Bay, Bamberg, Earhart, and Southside Christian. And in 1A, Lamar gets all 16 votes, followed by C.E. Murray, Lakeview, Wagner, Sally, and Ridge Spring, Monetta.
Of course, South Carolina getting ready for Coastal Carolina this weekend. Script Carolina on the helmet or otherwise. One of the things that was revealed yesterday, not the helmet, but the depth chart, made a lot of media members excited, although Will Muschamp will tell you he is not really he's nonplussed by the release of the depth chart.
I don't get big into the depth chart. I know you guys, it's like really the most important thing probably that's happened in your life recently. But, I mean, to me, it's about who finishes the game, not necessarily who starts the game. So that's really what I concentrate on. And that's, that's the most important thing. So, again, there's no question we've improved our depth. We have more quality depth to be able to play more guys, to have guys be able to sustain longer in the game and play at a high level. And, you don't want a lot of drop off when you don't have a guy in there and you put into somebody else and you're holding your breath open, he plays well. And we're much better in that regard.
Will the or at running back means they're all going to get to play?
I would envision all four playing.
What have you seen?
All have deserved it.
Yeah.
All four of those guys have had really good camps. Again, we need to get competition at every position like that, because you understand that you've got an opportunity to go strain every single day to earn your opportunity to play. And those guys, again, they've made our football team better because of that competition.
I know one of your concerns going into camp, you said you feel you have a top six with the offensive line. How do you feel you have filled out the depth beyond the top five in Malik?
I think we have a tremendous confidence in Chandler Farrell as our backup center. Javon Gwynn and Dylan Wonnum both have made some strides. They're guys that we feel like will play on Saturday. We want to be able to get them in the game to continue to build that depth, and the way you do that is by playing the game. Jordan Rose is another young man that's come along well for us. So within that group, you're thinking in terms of 10 guys that you have some confidence in playing.
What did JJ do to distinguish himself from Rick and the other linemen to be the backup there to Kier?
I think as much as anything, JJ was here in the spring. So when he started fall camp, he wasn't here in over front for the first time. But I see JJ and Ricky playing about the same snaps on Saturday.
Well, what have you seen out of J.C. Horn throughout this camp?
Really good man coverage skills. He used his length very well. He finishes on the top of routes. When I sit there and ask our receivers, I go to Brian Edwards and Debo Samuel, who do you like? JC's good, coach. I kind of trust players on that. but he's got good zone instincts, and repeatedly through camp, he's making plays on the ball. He's a ball hawk mentality, his hands on the ball a lot. It's all about getting your best 4 and 5 out there. We recognized very early in camp that JC was going to be one of those guys. And then as we continue to rep through camp, seeing Keyshawn rep outside, JC rep inside, felt comfortable playing inside, and felt comfortable about that move, and getting number one, our best 5 on the field. JT, after being cleared, I think did a fantastic job of grasping our defense and what we do, the physicality, the urgency he plays with. And you have a player that's played a lot in the last 3 years at a high level, that experience helps him. The game is slowed down, and the biggest learning curve is schematically what we do and how we call things. Both he and Nick have done a fantastic job of learning what we do. They're both extremely bright. Jam and Nick will both play as well, but certainly JT's earned the opportunity to start. That's
South Carolina head coach Dabo Swinney. Note from Clemson's press availability: my guy is going to get a red shirt.
Looks like it. Jamie Skalski, they're going to try and redshirt him this year, according to Dabo Swinney. Speaking with the media up at Clemson just a little while ago, he said they feel great about their depth at linebacker. So if everything holds, they're going to hold him and still play him 4 games. So here where the 4-game rule comes into play here. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you feel about that as a player, especially a guy who's been a veteran. I mean,
and a guy who played significant snaps last year.
At least you don't have to create one of those fake injuries to try
to get him. But I mean, what if you go out there? Of course, I guess in those games you'll be used in mop-up duty, but you go out and you play well, and you want more playing time. You want to play the games, but they feel like it's best for you and for them to hold you out.
There really isn't much mop-up duty games for Clemson. I mean, yes, we've talked about how Clemson's schedule is quote-unquote easy, but outside of Furman and Georgia Southern, is there really any game on that schedule where you think they're going to be using quote-unquote taxi squad type players?
Yeah.
Who? Which game?
Well, I mean, look at their schedule. I mean, they're going to be double-digit favorites over practically everybody they play.
They're going to blow people out in the conference. There will be they'll be a couple of games.
I mean, Syracuse at home.
They lost to Syracuse last year.
They had a hurt quarterback. It was up there. Wake Forest. I mean, there's nobody in the league except for Florida State right now until I see how some people play and how some things emerge.
You can't plan for that, is what I'm saying.
Well, but I mean, you're going to see as a game goes on.
There's no Chattanooga there's no Chattanooga in the penultimate week of the season like Carolina has.
The key point is, I think
– is it bad?
I think what happens is Dabo said it best when he said – Dabo said it best when he said that we're playing to a standard. And one of those standards that Clemson has to deal with is the fact that what is some of the group picking the teams for the playoffs say? We like the way Clemson takes control early and just carries out the game. So which means that there's a suggestion there that Clemson better blow out a bunch of teams to impress us, which tells me there will be some mop-up time.
All right, let me get recruiting in here before the top of the hour break. Cornerback Luke Hill in the 2020 class out of Washington, D.C. is going to announce on Saturday. He's had Clemson at the top of his list since the summer. He came into Clemson for a camp, and since then the Tigers have been very strong with him. He's looking at playing time. And he likes the fact that Clemson uses a lot of DBs, and Mike Reed has built a strong relationship with him. So this could happen for Clemson on Saturday. He also visited Alabama. His other schools on his short list: USC, Florida, Maryland, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Penn State, Virginia Tech, and Texas A&M. According to Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated, linebacker Kane Patterson of Nashville will visit Clemson unofficially Saturday. He's a former Ohio State commit, but you know who his coach is? Ingle Martin.
Oh, okay.
The former Furman quarterback and Florida quarterback. Clemson target, offensive lineman, defensive end Cooper Dawson of Hanahan was offered by Vanderbilt. 2020 wide receiver Jalen Hyatt of Dutch Fort plans to visit Clemson Saturday. And from Cary Rich, Lakewood's 6'6" Jawan Purdue was offered by Austin Peay.
Purdue offered by Austin Peay, not Austin Peay offered by Purdue.
Right.
Burning tires in a stolen car. I fucked up so bad outside the bar. Heading out as far away I can. Heart is pounding, got so damn out of hand. 90 through the city night. Nothing's ever gonna be alright. Life will never be what it was. Hands are shaking. Cause now my future is crashing down on me. They try to kill me when I fought back. I cracked the stocks with a baseball bat. The justice will never make this right. I need to run and stay out of sight. And the truth, it was me or them. Now for a lifetime I'm condemned. I can forget my old set way of life. I go to prison or die by die. Sirens, they are closing in. Such a fast car starts to spin. Scraping tires, time is running short. I go on foot as my last resort. Running harder, faster than before. Until my legs and feet are sore. Life will never be what it was. My mind is shaking. Cause now my future's crashing down on me. They try to kill me when I fought back. I cracked the stocks with a baseball bat. The justice will never make this right. I need to run and stay out of sight. And the truth, it was me or them. Now for a lifetime I'm condemned. I can forget my old set way of life. I go to prison or die by die. And what did you do? Now my future's crashing down on me. They try to kill me when I fought back. I cracked the stocks with a baseball bat. The justice will never make this right. I need to run and stay out of sight. And the truth, it was me or them. Now for a lifetime I'm condemned. I can forget my old set way of life. I go to prison or die by midnight. They try to kill me when I fought back.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network here on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes to be joined shortly by the M&M boys, Corey Miller and Will Merritt, as we bring them back by popular demand for another year of friendly, conversational exchanges.
Is your demand? Is your demand?
No, I think popular demand. I think the people of South Carolina have demanded that we must bring them more M&M boys because they are what's good about the state of South Carolina. They grew up in the state of South Carolina, one from Pageland, one from the Wren area, Piedmont, I think is where Will grew up. They both went to state schools, Will to Clemson, Corey to USC. They both achieved a high level of success at their respective schools.
They both got real degrees as opposed to
both have real degrees. One of them went on to greatness in the NFL. I guess can we call Corey a great NFL player?
He has a ring.
I think so.
He has a ring, doesn't he?
With who?
Did he get a ring with the Giants or no?
No.
Oh.
Giants stunk when he played there. No, he didn't
well, they were mediocre. I wouldn't say they were
pretty bad. I don't think he got a ring. If he had a Super Bowl ring, I'd have seen it. Okay. And he'd have probably hit me upside the head.
He does have a nice NFL pension, though.
He does. And so we are in the process of getting the two guys lined up. And we do have Corey right now, and we're working to get Will. So let's get Corey up on the air. We'll get Will here in just a moment. You don't have a Super Bowl ring, do you?
A Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, that you own. That's yours. That you won. No.
I bought one at the pawn shop and I had one online. I don't. A lot of people think I do just because the year that the Giants won the Super Bowl, Desert Storm in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
1990 year I was drafted to that Super Bowl team, so I kind of thought that rookies get rings with the team. I was like, no, that don't happen that way. But I was on that Super Bowl team, but I did not get a ring. No.
Gotcha. Well, it's good to have you back with us, and we'll have Will with us here momentarily. So let's go ahead and start with you and just kind of get your thoughts on this Gamecock football team, looking ahead to Coastal Carolina and just down the road from your coverage of them. Of course, let me just give the bio on Corey here real quick. He is sports anchor for Watch 57 here in Columbia, of course, covering the Gamecocks and other things around the Midlands and around the state. Your thoughts about how this Gamecock team looks to you as the season is right here?
I really like this team. I think, Will, I want to thank him and the Gamecock football team for allowing me to come in this all season and kind of get us behind the scenes of what they were doing, Jeff Dillman, the workouts. And I really like the attitude. I like the effort that they're putting in. I like how they change their bodies around, guys in great shape, the attitude and confidence even that they exude right now. And they should, coming off of a bowl win over Michigan, and you use that to kind of take you into the next season. And I think they have done that. And with about all of the offensive guys returning, Debo Samuel, Jake Bentley, plethora of running backs and receivers, tight ends, O-line is back and intact. So I like what they have over there. And I predict them to beat Georgia week 2. I think South Carolina will be a 10-2 football team and end up as a top 15 team. I think they're that good, and that's all based on being healthy, obviously. But I think they're definitely that good, Phil.
Where do you see your potential landmines for this team, personnel-wise? What weaknesses do you see?
Secondary. I think the secondary is just a question mark. I'm not going to call it weakness right now because until they start playing. But I think if you had to look at something that you would question going into the season, it would be in the secondary because they got a lot of missing pieces back there. They're trying to fill some voids at safety and move Jan Williams around. A couple of guys get moved around. They're excited about a couple of the young guys, but still don't know how they're going to perform. When the lights come on in front of 80,000 people. So we just got to kind of wait and see what happens there. But I think, when you look at the coaching staff, you look at how he's recruited, he's worked his tail off getting good players to come here to South Carolina to buy into what they're doing. They're building these really nice, great facilities. I really like it. You know, it's going to be a difficult season. You know, Georgia's obviously going to be tough, but I like the fact Georgia lost 8 guys on defense early in the year. You like to get them there because they're going to get better because they're highly talented. Excuse me. But I think South will get them at home. I think going up to Clemson is going to be tough with that defense they have up there, and that Florida is going to be a tough game. So they got a couple I think they're going to have to try to fight in there. But I still think, you know, if healthy, I think this is a 10-win team. I really think they're going to win the East. I think they'll play Alabama and Atlanta for the SEC championship.
That'll make you a conflicted man, certainly, Corey. As we're talking with Corey Miller, one half of the M&M boys here on Sports Talk here on South Carolina Radio Network. What are your thoughts on the offensive line? Because it seems like they're they feel about as solid as about this top 5 as they have at any under Will Muschamp's tenure. But when you get beyond that Super 6 sub and Malik Young, there's a lot of unprovenness back there with Chandler Farrell, Dylan Wanham, Javon Gwynn, guys like that. How do you feel South Carolina can fill those gaps if they need to go to their reserves?
Well, yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you got Manos. I know they're high on that guy. You mentioned Wanham, who I really like. I think the guy's going to have to play Farrell. I play with his brother at South Carolina. He's a tough kid, earned a scholarship. They got some guys that's going to get in there and play. But that's going to come with just game experience. I mean, I think, you know, they get a chance like on Saturday, you know, to get ahead and get those guys in there to get them some quality reps. It's going to help, obviously, you know, those starting, I'm going to say 6 guys, because all those guys can start. I like a lot. I think they're one of the best O-line groups in the SEC when you talk about those guys. Zach Bailey, really good player. So I think he's one of the better linemen in the SEC. So it's all about just getting reps. I mean, because you can practice all you want to, but those guys are going to get better by getting game reps, you know, with the speed of the game. And they're going to see a lot of different defenses. And can they adjust? Can they pick up blitz protection and those types of things? But based on what coaches are saying, what I've heard from them, they really are excited about this young group of kids. They got the talent, they got the strength, they're strong, they can compete, they understand the effort, but it's just all about, you know, just getting game experience. But I think if they can stay healthy, get those guys some good quality reps in there, they're going to be, you know, because you got to be good down the stretch, and they got to be healthy down the stretch, and that's what they're trying to get to.
Corey, the move to look like the taller, more angular defensive backs, especially at the corners. Obviously, people think about tall receivers, but also is that move predicated on guys with longer arms? And if they go more man-to-man, they can have that initial punch into the wide receiver with those longer arms as they come out of their stance.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you're seeing now. You know, that rangy, long cornerback, that Richard Sherman type, not real fast, not going to blow you away in the 40, but has good feet, good hips. And as you said, you got that box where you can jam, reroute receivers. You got those long arms where you can stand and play basketball even, you know, in the red zone. You got the, you know, guys like Brian Edwards and Trey Smith, and you're going up against those types of receivers. You got to have basketball type guys. I mean, that's been the thing right back in the day. Teams get in the red zone, they run fade stops, because you had 5'9", 5'8" corners. Well, they couldn't jump. They couldn't get up there and get the ball. It was just automatic. So the game has changed. I mean, even up front, think about it. You know, you want your guys to be longer, rangy guys. I mean, you want them to look like a Christian Miller at linebacker, a 6'4", 245 can run. That's what you want your game to be. I mean, that's what it's transitioned to. No, just you know, a little plug there. But I mean, you want your guys to look like that. I mean, because the game is all about, you know, basketball now. It's fast paced. You got to doing it tempo. You got to have long, rangy guys, long arms, can cover space, because the game is all about space right now. And that's why you're seeing that transition there.
Apparently, you know, Will Merritt is hesitant to face you here in the first week of the season. We've not been able to hook up with him.
You know why? Right?
I don't know why. I mean, he's got so much that he could be talking about.
He doesn't want to face the music from after the Sugar Bowl.
Let me remind you, from last year, I told him the whole year. You remember how he was gloating? And I said, until you know this, I said, they will get run off the field when they played Alabama. I told them that. They haven't played anybody. I said, when they play somebody that's physical, that can match them talent-wise, has more talent, you're going to see a different team. And he wouldn't listen.
All right, hang on.
Come on even at the end of the year.
All right, hang on. I'm come back to you in a moment. We'll be right back with Corey Miller.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Okay, we're back with half of the M&M boys. We're giving Will Merritt a pass for tonight. When you see him Saturday, kick him in the knee.
He's ducking him.
Give him a pass.
Yeah,
he's ducking you.
Corey Miller is here in all his glory, the pastor of pain. It's good to have you back with us. Tell us, give us your take on Clemson. I mean, look, they're going to roll, right? We're talking 12-0 playoffs. Alabama national championship game.
Hold on. Now, this 12-0 stuff. I mean, here you go again, Phil, with the orange on. I mean, listen.
You know orange on me.
Oh man, you got orange drawers on right now.
Orange breeches
or something. Yeah. Look, week number 2, mark it down. Texas A&M, College Station, a familiar face. Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies. Clemson on the road early in the year. I'm telling you, watch this ball game. It could end up in a loss. Clemson always lose one anyway that they should win, a la Syracuse. I mean, or Georgia Tech back in the day, and I think they do go to Atlanta this year. I'm not giving them – they're going to lose a game. They're going to lose a game in regular season. But this defense, for me, it's all about that front four. Really, really good. I don't know what the secondary is going to look like. The linebackers get a little bit of question mark for me. But when you're able to get pressure the way they do, and the coach is a really, really good at diagramming those blitzes, and they bring pressure. Venables, he does a nice job. He's one of my favorite coaches out there, and I think he does a great job with the Clemson defense. But it's going to be interesting to see what this fan base is going to do. If Kelly Bryant struggles some in the passing game, which I don't see him doing that with the schedule, but if he does, what type of leash he's going to have based on the noise from the outside, as Dabo said. It's just crazy how fans were booing Kelly Bryant in the spring and wanting to play their own team to do bad. Come on. I mean, so that Trevor Lawrence, an unproven guy, because he broke some Deshaun Watson's record in high school. I mean, he's going against Phil Cornblue type corners. Who can't throw for 10,000 yards when you got Cornblue type talent on the outside in high school? Do that in the ACC.
Do you have any inside info, Corey, on we're getting some various unconfirmed reports about the status of Josh Belk and Jamel Cook. Is there any insight you can provide as to perhaps their NCAA status possibly changing?
No, I don't have any, just based on what Coach has been saying. They still hearing, but it sounds like, from people I've talked to, that they're going to be clear. Now, that's what it was last week at least, and something could have changed, but I don't see why not. Everybody else is getting clear, but I don't know what the holdup is, those two players. But, man, they will be a big help. I mean, that guy, he was stuck. I mean, that guy, if he comes in, he can help this team out tremendously. So hopefully they'll get cleared here pretty soon, hopefully by the Georgia week. So I don't have anything more than that.
There is a tweet out by, I believe this is his attorney, Everett Stubbs.
Yes.
I'm looking at his Twitter page. It has no identification about him being an attorney in Chester. But he does have a Spurs Up that he put out a couple of hours ago. Yeah.
A lawyer did that?
His lawyer, Josh Belk's attorney, yes.
Okay. Spurs Up, then that's good news. I mean, It sounds like it's going to be okay. So Coach Muschamp didn't seem concerned about it. Yeah. I mean, so everything he said was positive, so I wouldn't be shocked. And good for him, good on him. The kid really wanted to come to South Carolina, and I knew some things was going on up there at Clemson. He wasn't too happy. I know they kind of inked it to a family deal, but I think he wanted to be at South Carolina for what I heard.
What's the word you're hearing out of Alabama? I know you're hearing a lot, but from what you're hearing, what's your impression? What do you think is going to happen at quarterback? But I mean, the team in general. But of course, you got to start at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm really good friends with Jalen's father. Really good friends. We spent a lot of time together. I know, what they went through. Jalen understands. His father understands that. Jalen opened that door, not just in the championship game, even date back to the Clemson game. That he didn't play well, and he gave another guy an opportunity. And of course, Coach said they made that change, and it was the right call. So I don't know. Here's the bottom line: Jalen's going to give you one type of deal with the offense. He'll give you that. He can throw it some. He can run it, make big plays. To give you that X factor. Tua is a gunslinger. But the problem that I see with Tua is that because he's got that Brett Favre mentality, he's going to put the ball up stand. And, Coach Saban cannot stand turnovers. So they both going to play in this ball game. That I can tell you for a fact. They're both going to play quarterback in this football game. I don't know who's going to step on the field first. I don't even know that it matters, Phil, because one thing that he preaches down there, and I know it even with Christian and through his career there, I mean, they don't get caught up into the whole starting thing. I mean, it's about knowing your role, doing the best you can be at your role, and doing what's asked of you. So, and that's what he's done a great job of, getting those big-time players to buy into that because, everybody can't start, especially at quarterback. You can only try one on the field at a time, well, in most cases. But Joe's not going to play wide receiver. He's not, he's going to play quarterback. And I can tell you that he's had a really good camp. I think from what I heard from the last scrimmage, Jalen played extremely well. So, everybody's watching, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to matter. What's going to happen is both those guys are going to play. It's kind of going back, if you go back 2 or 3 years ago, I think Southern Cal and Jerry's World, when Jalen started, remember Blake Barnett started the game at quarterback. But Blake Barnett played himself out of the game. Jalen came in, played well, and now it became the Jalen show. So I think that's kind of what you're going to see with this game. Both of them will play, and whoever has a rhythm, Coach Saban's going to stick with them and kind of let them separate themselves in a real ball game and not just practice.
Corey, since you're a part of the media, I guess you're not let into the practice like
au contraire.
But I'm just kidding. No, I want to ask him about a guy
he gets in.
I want to remind him. I want to ask him about a guy that reminds me of you, Corey. That's a young man on Carolina's team, Rosendo Lewis, the freshman out of Florida. Isn't he one of those throwback linebackers like you, like to hit everything that moves?
They say the thumper, man, and he's physical, yeah. And you don't see that much anymore. I mean, you don't see those guys that like the thump and getting that mix it up a little bit. And, I know they like him a lot. Again, experience is going to be a big difference, getting in there and getting some play time. And I love the fact that you got this 4-game redshirt rule now. I think now it's going to make coaches kind of manage their team, kind of like baseball a little bit. You know what I mean? They got to manage who plays when and what games and who they're looking at that really could be a contributor. But I think he's a guy that's going to get some burn. But, yeah, I love that you said that, Pro, because you don't see those throwback guys no more. Everybody want to be cute. Everybody want to wear low-top cleats and spat up and look pretty, run around everybody. I like to see those guys that stick that kind of that helmet in the chest of a back or a tight end.
We can't be doing that, Corey. We can't be doing that. Come on.
Speaking of thumping, Corey, they're doing a lot less thumping in the NFL because of all these new rules. Could you have played with these new rules?
I would have been really broke. Because listen, when you get in the game and you get a chance to take a shot, I see guys pulling up now. I mean, it's crazy. They're taking the aggression out of the game. And I would have played, obviously, but I would have been a guy that's probably been heavy fine because, football is physical, man. I mean, it's a physical game. I understand the protection of athletes. I believe that. But I go back and tell the guy the other day, we used to get knocked bruises. You'll get the ammonia tablets. You bust them up, smell them up, and hey, I'm from Payson. I'm married. I got kids, and I said, okay, you're good to go, and really let check guys out. That's the biggest issue. But now with the protocol and they pay close attention to it, I think that's what's going to help guys become healthier down the road. Not the kickoffs. I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, the quarterback the other day they called the penalty on. I mean, come on, man.
I still see hockey players using them smelling salts on the benches there, so that's certainly something.
All right, Pastor. Listen, we appreciate you doing double duty. I know you got big shoulders, so you had to carry the weight tonight.
You know what, Phil? I watched the text, right? You get the group text.
Yeah.
So quick to say, I waited.
Yeah,
I waited. I want him to sweat, and then I give you the little thumbs up. And I don't mind the little chocolate colored thumb. That's my skin tone, Phil. So don't take that personally.
I never knew that.
Wow.
I don't see skin tone. I just see my man. I just see a big guy.
Oh, he's calling right now. Look at this. He's calling right now.
Well, Larry, you're scared. Now you want to get off of this, try to get on later.
He is calling, yeah.
He's thinking of the Sugar Bowl. He thinks I'm on pain, but I am the pastor of pain. I'll see you next week there, Mr. Merritt. Show up.
Thank you. Be right back.
We will continue to try and effort anything on the Josh Belk scenario. Again, we're only going off of a Spurs Up tweet from someone who presumes to be his attorney, Chester. So we'll see whether or not we get anything further cleared on that. We are brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Whether it's low rates or high rewards, using select Founders credit cards on clothes, school supplies, a new computer, maybe even a new phone for Will Merritt, so he can actually pick up the phone on his day to actually
Yeah.
Even college tuition will help prepare your kids for a first day of school. Apply online at foundersfcu.com/reason. Don't mind the shot there from across the bow from one Will to another.
There you go. Hey, last night, the South Carolina Football Coaches Association announced their Hall of Fame class of 2018. These outstanding coaches will be inducted in December in Myrtle Beach as part of the weekend of the Touchstone Energy Bowl. Jerry Brown, Willis Burkett, Bill Carr, David Gutshaw, Chuck Jordan, Chris Miller, Ray Stackley, Al Usher, Mike Ware, and James E. Weepy Welch. So we congratulate those coaches for going into the Hall of Fame. Now, tonight, here on Sports Talk exclusively, we have the announcements of the nominees for the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. Mike Foster with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame joining us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Mike. How are you?
Good evening. What's going on, guys?
Man, we're just getting ready for some football. How about you?
Absolutely. Best time of the year.
You got that right. You got that right. So you guys have put together your list for the voting purposes for fans across the state. And it's a long list. We're not going to go over everybody on the list. That would take up the rest of the show.
It's a stacked list, Corn.
But there are some very big names on this list. Mike, how did you guys get these particular names on the list for this year?
Well, this is our 7th year in operation, and over the last 7 years, we've accumulated and done research on some of the best players in South Carolina history, whether they're born here or whether they played at one of our 13 football programs here in the state. And as the years have gone on, we kept a pretty good list together. And obviously, we know that this isn't everybody. There's a whole lot more of guys that we can put on this list. But this is kind of a sampling. Kind of gives the voters an idea of the kind of guy that we're looking for in the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. But yeah, 50 guys from what you might consider this modern era, and then 10 guys from that we call legacy inductees from a previous era or may have passed away already. To honor those guys, because sometimes those guys get lost in the weeds a little bit, and so we want to bring those guys back to the forefront a little bit, and in some cases, guys that helped produce the great football history that we have here in South Carolina.
Absolutely. You got players and coaches. In fact, Corey Miller, who was just with us, is on the list again.
Joe Morrison, who we've been talking about on the show a little bit today, is on the legacy list as well.
Yeah, let me mention a few of the names on here, and then we'll talk some more. You've got, for example, Terry Allen, Art Baker, the Bostic brothers, Peter Boulware, Robert Brooks, Brinson Buckner, Bobby Bryant, King Dixon, Brad Edwards, and I'm skipping over folks, of course, Woody Dantzler, Todd Ellis, Bobby Ingram, Steve Fuller.
Rod
Gardner's on there, Sean Graves. So this is what I like, Mike. You've got all the guys that played at the big schools. Then you got a guy like Sean Graves, who people who follow football in the state of South Carolina knows what a great player Sean Graves was at Marion High School as well as at Wofford.
Absolutely. We want to be all-inclusive. This isn't just the University of South Carolina or Clemson Hall of Fame. This is the state of South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, and that includes everybody who's played, whether you played at a D2 school here in the state or an FCS school or whatever. We have 8 in-state schools that have a guy listed on this list, and I think that's a pretty good representation of the state for this year. And then we also have 9 players that were born here in South Carolina that went somewhere else, and then 3 legacy nominees that were born here somewhere else, whether it be like a Bobby Ingram who was born in Camden but went to Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
So you have guys like that, and then of course you have a guy like a Francis Marion Campbell who was born in Chester and became successful outside and inside the state as well. So but didn't necessarily go to a Clemson or a South Carolina. So hopefully we're hitting a lot of different fan bases, but for those Clemson and South Carolina fans, out of the 60 names, you still have about 34 guys represented between the two. And I believe, if I counted right, there are 17 representatives on both sides. So we're not more Tigers and we're not more Gamecocks than anybody else. We're trying to be well-rounded here.
Smart. Some of the other names: Jeff Grants, Dwayne Harper, Stanford Jennings, Bobby Johnson, Ed McDaniel, Dexter McCleon, Stump Mitchell, who's got to go in, Sidney Rice, Tony Rice, who's got to go in, Willie Scotts, who's got to go in, Steve Spurrier's on it, Jim Stuckey, Deuce Staley, James Trapp, Travell Wharton, Rodney Williams, Donnell Wolford, and then from the legacy group, Marion Campbell, Joe Marson, as Will mentioned, Marion Motley. He's in the NFL Hall of Fame. My gosh, he's got to go in this one.
Yep.
Dode Phillips, now that Erskine is restarting football, got to talk about him. Bob Waters and George Webster, just some of the other names.
I wanted to at least speak to this a little bit, Mike, as far as just, you guys are somewhat in your infancy as a Hall of Fame. There can be a run on some guys. How do you ensure that that not only guys who are basically worthy of that get in first? I mean, I'm sure that that's probably the hardest process that you guys have to incur every year.
It is, and like I mentioned, we've only been in operation for 7 years. We have 30 total inductees over the 6 current classes that we put in, and so with that, we try and do. We've averaged about 4 to 5 guys per class, just because we want longevity here. And obviously, there's a lot of South Carolina history that we got to make up. But we do want longevity. We don't want to be here for just a few years. We want to be here for a long time. But with that, we want to make sure our classes are all Clemson, all South Carolina people. We also want to make sure that we are getting the best talent that's available. But in most cases, usually what we'll say is it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And a lot of these athletes do have personal ego that we cater to as well, that we try not to let get involved with the process, but we also want to make sure that they feel respected being on this list and then eventually becoming an inductee of the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame.
About your criteria, who looks at who you're going to vote in, do you look only at what their performance were in South Carolina, or is it weighted that this guy not only was great at South Carolina or where he played in college, but he also made it to the highest level, say, of the NFL, and does that weigh into your thinking?
Absolutely. And you'll notice that a lot of the guys on this list have an extensive NFL background as well. We obviously want the best players that played in South Carolina. Now, sometimes careers may not have gone the way that some had thought. Some were great college players but didn't do as much in the NFL. We have to take that into consideration. Obviously, we have guys in our Hall of Fame like Art Shell, who in some cases was ranked one of the top 50 players in the NFL at one time. Mm-hmm. How can we compare him to maybe someone who didn't play in the NFL? Well, what was their impact? We take that and we say, what was their impact here in South Carolina? Was it just as large? And most people would say that there were a lot of players that played in South Carolina that made a bigger impact than Art Shell here in the state. But given Art Shell's extensive success outside of the state, that still has to be a huge factor. I guess you could say the same thing with a guy like Steve Spurrier, who is on this list, who had success here at the University of South Carolina, but really is known for his success outside of the University of South Carolina as the head coach here. But there's a lot of different things to look at.
Mike, we appreciate it. We will put the list up on our website, and I know you're going to have it up on your website as well, South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, and we'll be in touch with you along the way as the list gets shorter. We thank you.
Appreciate your support, guys.
Thank you. Be right back.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
We'll hear more from Dabo Sweeney. I want to get into this Zach Smith scenario. Apparently, this guy's off the deep end, Corn. He is
not letting it go, threatening
to
sue Feinbaum, ESPN, Brett McMurphy, and others. Before we get to that and Dabo, let's get a visit in from our good friend Keith Alsep with the Locked on the Gamecocks podcast. And I'm sure that you're monitoring what could be coming down here soon with Josh Belk. We're seeing indications that he's gotten the go-ahead. What are you hearing?
Oh, Phil, the loyal listeners of the Locked on the Gamecocks podcast have known for days now that Josh Belk, in all likelihood, was going to be eligible. Nothing's ever 100% with the NCAA, but we were getting strong indications as early as the weekend and have really expected this for quite some time. And I'm fully confident that Josh Belk will be dressed and playing, barring, something happening in the 11th hour. Not as comfortable projecting Jamel Cook. From my latest information, I would be surprised if he plays this year.
Mm-hmm.
But we fully expect Josh Belk to be locked on, locked in, and ready to go. So there's the Donald Trump version, 2 minutes or less, of Josh Belk.
And that is not fake news, you say.
That's good news for the Gamecocks.
Poor Zach Smith, Phil. I mean, first of all, when you're in denial, you have to admit you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach Smith, I know people that have followed him on Twitter for years, and he is truly one of America's greatest psychopaths. And I'm hopeful that he can admit that he is a psychopath, a liar, and a domestic abuser, so that he can start on the road to recovery.
What else is on the podcast?
Well, tomorrow we'll have our first Fearless podcast edition of this season. We launch that every Thursday, where we go in depth. We break down South Carolina's opponent, the key matchups in the game. We give our analysis and score predictions. And tomorrow we'll also break down the entire schedule and give our win-loss projections for the Gamecocks and potential bowl destination. Well, I'm sure if news officially breaks, we'll talk more about Josh Belk. And then we'll also, exclusively for the listeners of Locked on the Gamecocks podcast, Phil, tomorrow I'll be dropping the names of 3 of the top 10 high school players in the class of 2019 that will be visiting South Carolina this weekend for Dawn Staley and her program. So you can listen to the Locked on the Gamecocks podcast, Phil, tomorrow, and then you can have some fresh recruiting news on women's basketball for tomorrow night's show.
That sounds like a good idea. I think when I'm cutting the grass tomorrow, I'll listen.
All right.
Be a good yard. Be a good yard listen.
I love podcasts when it comes to long activities like the gym and things like that. Stop it.
Yeah, we have a lot of listeners that they tell us they pop it on when they get on the treadmill or when they're working out at the gym, when they're driving to and from work. They can break it up and listen to the podcast there. So, you can subscribe to the Locked on the Gamecocks podcast on iTunes, Google Play, the Stitcher app, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us up at LOTCG Podcast on Twitter. You can follow me, Kay Alsep, on Twitter. Or you can just search for Locked on the Gamecocks podcast.
Thank you, my friend. We'll be listening. Talk to you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Phil.
Keith Alsep. Real quick, Dabo Sweeney said today, too, that Mylan Richards going to miss Saturday's game. He's got a banged-up knee. So one of the tight ends is out.
That was the knee that he hurt during the open portion of practice last time we got to see them last week.
So what does he think about Furman, Dabo Sweeney? Here's what he thinks about Furman. Dabo Swinney.
Furman has beaten Clemson 10 times. 10. So it's not like they beat them once. And the skies parted. They're double digits wins against Clemson. I don't know when the last one was, but I know they beat them 10 times. And I'll guarantee you those 10 times, Clemson was probably favored. Was probably supposed to win the game. So supposed to don't get it done. This is a game of performance, and you better show up every single week. But openers are always tough, and this will be a tough opener for us. When you look at their defense, they got 10 of 11 starters back that are juniors and seniors. All right, they got 9 returning starters, so they're a veteran team, and they got a bunch of guys back with good experience that know what they're doing. And all the D linemen are back. The whole secondary's back, and they added Trapp, who knows a good player, to that mix. One of their all-conference linebackers is back, so it's a really good group that knows what they're doing. That I think will be improved. And then offensively, to be quite honest with you, man, it is stressful to watch them. It is very stressful. They do a great job schematically, a great job. Shifts and motions and in and out of option offense into traditional spread looks. And so you gotta be able to play base defense, option defense. I mean, they really stress you, and they do an unbelievable job with their play action game. They can expose you in a heartbeat. They throw the ball last year 20 times a game. That kind of surprised me initially. But they throw it 20 times a game. They average 17 yards a catch. So it's usually a big play. But most of it is built off of their option principles and the play action. There's not a lot of drop back. So it puts a lot of strain on you from a discipline standpoint, and especially the guys on the back end and where their eyes are. And so this will be a challenge. Every opener is tough because you haven't played anybody. And then you line up and you play a team that's going to really challenge from a assignment standpoint. It's a little stressful getting ready for a bunch like this. I mean, and it's really easy to see why they had the success they had last year.
All right, Dabo Swinney on Furman. And yes, Furman had a tremendous season last year, got real hot in the middle part of the year and rolled into the FCS playoffs and won a game, and got a lot of players back on defense, got a big quarterback who can throw it, runs that option offense, little misdirection in there. Again, no way am I suggesting the upset, but I think I like the 42.5.
You can have it.
I'm taking it.
You can have it.
I'm taking it all the way to the bank, cashing that check, baby.
You can have it.
By the way, we will have coming up for you, of course, on Friday. You want to make sure that we are part of your Fridays heading into football weekend, because you'll have, of course, our picks of our illustrious staff. And we've added a couple more people to the picking contest, including our own Brian Leonard and the money coach. He's going to be hard to beat, Fran Halloran. Of course, I was the winner last year, in case anybody forgot about that.
We were trying to.
And we'll have, of course, Lee Sterling with his Sterling picks. And I'm really looking forward to this year's edition. This should be fun. The football filibuster, of course, with the multi-time champion Jim Hodges to be challenged this year by the youngest lieutenant governor in history of this country, right? When he was lieutenant governor, Andre Bauer. He's not young anymore. He's 49. He just got married like 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure his mind is totally on football. But, he moves quickly, as we've noticed in the past with his driving habits.
Hopefully he does better than General Wilson does.
Especially down Main Street.
I hope he heard that. I hope the Attorney General heard that, because he can commence an investigation on you in a heartbeat,
He's got his own house to worry about.
Not touching that.
He's got his own house to worry about.
Not touching that.
Doesn't he?
Any final thoughts?
Doesn't he have his own house to
I'm
worry
not
about?
touching that. I'm not getting politicians mad at me. Go read the Zach Smith tweets if you want to get a laugh.
Confessions of a Psychopath.
Really? Hey, thank you, everybody. Will Pro and Brian. No thanks to Will Merritt. Thank you, Corey Miller.
Wow.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Wow.